Good morning, guys, and today we are going to be starting our one-day lesson on 10.8, writing the equation of a circle in standard form. So the equation of a circle in standard form, and you can see it, is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, now we know r to be the radius, and the center is going to be the point that we call h comma k. And then, of course, our radius will either be given or we can pick it out from the circle. So our radius is known as r. Let us use this formula. So example 1 says, write the equation of a circle with a center. So our hk, our center, is 1, negative 8, and our radius is 7. And all we are going to do is just plug directly into the formula. Remember, the formula is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. The minuses are already in there. So you have to be careful, watch your double negatives. Okay? So our h is 1 and our k is negative 8. So let's plug in. X minus h is 1 squared, plus y minus k is negative 8. So we have a minus, we're going to put in a negative 8, squared equals r squared. Remember, it's an equation, so we should have x and y in there still. And then what they tell us is our radius is 7. So I'm just going to go in my next step, clean things up, and plug in my radius. X minus 1 squared you leave. You're not foiling anything, you just leave it. Plus, a negative negative becomes a positive. So we'll have in parentheses y plus 8 squared. Don't forget the squares on the outside. Equals, our radius is 7. So 7 squared, which is 49. So you are really, if they give you the radius in the center, you're really just plugging it in. Now what happens if they don't give me the radius in the center? They give me a graph circle. Find the radius in the center off the circle. So the radius, I can count it, is just going to be 1, 2, 3. And the center, my HK, right, is just going to be 0, 4. So what am I going to do? Well, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. If we plug into our formula, we're going to have x minus h. In this case, our h is 0. So it'll really just be x minus 0 squared, which is just x squared, plus y minus 4 squared equals our radius, which is 3 squared. And I'll just finish it off, clean up anything I can, and I'll leave it as x squared plus parentheses y minus 4 squared equals 9. If you had x minus 0 squared, I wouldn't necessarily mark that wrong, but x squared is just simpler. Okay, so you're really just plugging in. Example 3. So write the equation of a circle with the center at the origin. And we always say, what is the origin? What point is that? And a lot of you always tell me that is 0, 0. And our radius is square root of 10. So again, they're giving me everything. We're just going to plug it into our formula, x minus h squared, y minus k squared equals r squared. Now if h and k are both 0, I'll write it out, though we really don't have to. We don't really need to write those zeros. And then our r squared will be square root of 10 squared. And let's just clean it up. X minus 0 squared is x squared. Y minus 0 squared is y squared. Square root of 10 squared. What does a square root and a square do to each other? Remember, they're going to cancel. So the 10 is going to just pop out. So this is just going to equal 10. Okay? Same thing. We're just plugging in. A lot of these examples go pretty quickly until we get into the more difficult ones. Okay, example 4. It says, write the equation of a circle with a center at -3, -5 that passes through 1, 2. So now they're giving you the center, they're giving you your HK of -3, -5. And they're giving you a point. So let's fill in what we can in the equation. X minus my H is -3 squared. And then my K is -5. So again, watch your double negatives because the minus is part of the equation already. Equals R squared. So if you notice, they don't give us R. So we're going to have to find R to write our equation in the way we want it. But they do give us, if they don't give us R, they have to give us something else. And what they give us is they give us a 0.12. Remember, every point is technically an X, Y. So what can I do? Well, I can just plug in 1 for X and the 2 for Y, right? And that'll allow me to solve for R. So let's do this. So we'll get 1 minus -3 squared plus 2 minus -5 squared equals R squared. I'm just plugging in for X, Y, H, and K and solving for R. 1 minus -3 is 4 squared plus 2 minus -5. Remember, the minuses become a plus. So that'll give me 7 squared equals R squared. So I'll get 16 plus 49 equals R squared. And how do we undo a squared? We take a square root. So 16 plus 49 is 65. So R is just square root of 65. Okay? So I know we had to do a little bit of work there, but now we have R and we have our center HK. Let's plug into our formula. Remember, your formula, your final answer, since the formula should have the variables X and Y in it. So X minus H, so minus -3 is plus 3 squared, plus Y minus -5 was Y plus 5 squared equals my radius squared. My radius is square root of 65. Square that, and it's just going to be 65. Remember, because your formula is R squared. So this, if R is square root of 65, if I go to square that, the square root and the square will just cancel and the 65 will pop out. So that is my formula. So anything like this, plug in your H and your K, plug in the point that they give you for X and Y, solve for R, and then write your equation out. Okay? Remember, you can still try those try problems and check your answers, and if you have anything, let me know. A few more examples. Example 5 says rewrite the equation of the circle in standard form. So here's the deal. When we are doing something like this, we are doing something called completing the square, and this is a little bit of review for you guys. When you complete the square, when you complete the square, what you do is you're going to put all your x's together and all your y's together, and if you have any numbers that don't have variables, move them to the other side. So for this one, we'll have x squared minus 8x, and then we're going to leave a space, plus y squared plus 2y, we're going to leave a space, and then we have equals the -8 on the other side. So now what we're going to do here is we want to rewrite this equation in standard form, which is the x minus h squared plus the y minus k squared. That is the form equals r squared that we want. So in order to do that, we don't want an 8x or a 2y. So when you complete the square, you take the middle term, the middle x term, or the middle y term, you divide by 2, and that will get you your number that will go in parentheses. Okay, so you're going to divide this by 2, and that will get you your number that will go in parentheses. You divide by 2, and that will get you your number that will go in parentheses. If you notice, it was a -8 divided by 2, which gave me -4, and then a +2 divided by 2, which gave me +1. Okay, but here is the issue. We need to figure out your right side of the equation is not going to stay -8, because what you're actually doing when you complete the square is you're going to divide by 2, and then you're squaring that number. So we're dividing by 2, we get 4, and we're squaring it. So what we're adding to the left side is actually we're adding a 16. Okay, this is the process of completing the square you learned last year. The 2 divided by 2, we get 1, we square it, we're adding 1. So what we're really adding on the left side is a 16 and a 1, and then we can factor each piece and get here. I just told you guys a shortcut. So what does that mean? Whatever we add to the left side, we have to add to the right side. So if I add 16 and 1 to the left, I have to add 16 and 1 to the right. Okay, if you have some trouble with completing the square, I'll probably be posting a completing the square video of either me doing it or just, an Edpuzzle video or something so that you can reference it, or you can just look up some examples. Okay, but the easiest way to do this is, like I said, just simply say, okay, divide by 2, that'll be my x minus 4, divide by 2, that'll be my y plus 1, but then don't forget to square it and add those to the other side. So instead of r squared, what's going to be on the right side? -8 plus 16 plus 1 is going to be 9. So this is actually going to be my equation. Okay? The only thing is here we have to take it a step further, which says then graph the circle. So we need to figure out what is my center and what is my radius. Well, remember, this equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So if r squared is equal to 9, then I could take the square root, and r is really 3. So my radius is 3. Now my center, if I set these equal, -h is equal to -4, so that means h is equal to +4. Negative k is equal to +1, divide by -1, so k is actually -1. And now I can plot these points. Okay, so 4, -1, and then I have a radius of 3 in all directions. So I'll go up 3, right 3, down 3, left 3 from the center, and I'll make my circle. And that will be my circle. Okay, definitely a problem you want to look over, just so that you know what you're doing. Okay, so this is our last problem for today. I know there are a few more examples probably in your notes. Don't worry too much about them. Just focus on the ones that we went through in the notes today. Like I said, I'll probably be posting up at least a completing the square, practice worksheet that has solutions to it in case you want to do extra practice with that. Or I'll also be posting maybe a video, something, so that if you don't understand the last example, you can kind of go through that yourself. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. I'm always accessible, and make sure you're reading Google Classroom every day that I see you and handing in all of your assignments. Have a great day, guys.